But our top focus remains on the NDA government's first full-year budget. The Finance Minister announcing no changes in income tax slabs. Significantly, wealth tax has been abolished, but a surcharge of 2% will be imposed on the country's super rich. Big question, has the Narendra Modi Arun Jaitley team passed the budget test? It's time to come to our budget panel first. In the studio and also special guest, Surjit Bhalla joining me, Chairman Oxis Investments, who's called it the best budget since 1991. Gurcharan Das, author and economist, who's going to tell us where he thinks the budget has gone. Dr. Sanjay Baru, former press advisor to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, also fellow at CPR and economist, is with us. Sunil Alag, who is a supporter of Narendra Modi and has been a corporate chieftain in his time. And Meera Sanyal of the Aam Aadmi Party, but wearing a hat as a banker. Also joining us, Nirmala Sitharaman, the Commerce Minister, who I'll come to in a moment, as well as Rajiv Gowda of the Congress. But I want to first go to Jayant Sinha, who I spoke to a short while ago, the Minister of State for Finance. I began by asking Mr. Sinha that most people were seeing this budget as good, but perhaps not good enough in terms of the bold measures needed to really kickstart private investment and job creation. Was he willing to accept that criticism?
Boldness, Rajdeep, is in the eye of the beholder. I would say that at least on 5 different areas, any objective person is going to have to conclude that this budget has been very bold. Let me give you the 5, right? Number 1, we have reset the fiscal architecture of Indian government by the devolution that we have done to the states, as well as with the GST bill that we are going to be introducing. We've completely reset how the fiscal architecture is going to work between the union, that is the center, and the states. Number 1. Number 2, we have introduced the idea of universal social security so that our poor and our needy and our deprived are going to be protected from ill health, from old age, from poverty. Universal social security, very big and very important idea. Number 3, we are creating a jobs machine with Make in India and Skilled India so that our young people can get jobs. Number 4, we are putting in place for our farmers the irrigation, the soil fertility and the credit necessary to dramatically increase agricultural productivity. And then number 5, what we're doing as far as black money is concerned, as far as the black economy is concerned, is a very big and important step forward so that whether you have unaccounted for wealth that is not declared overseas or you have it domestically, you're going to have to face the full force of the law, and in fact you could end up in prison if you're not paying your taxes fairly. If you just look at these 5, Rajdeep, and there's a lot more, whether it's public investment, whether it's what we're doing with banking, whether it's what we're doing with innovation and entrepreneurship, there are at least 5 additional ones that are almost as important and profound. So I will say the following, that with this budget, we have really unleashed the 3rd generation of reforms, and we are going to put in place a modern 21st century economy with the regulatory regime, with the taxation system, and with the governance that will be second to none anywhere in the world. I think that's pretty big and important.
Okay, so there you had Jayant Sinha trying to defend the budget. Nirmala Sitharaman, presumably you will do the same. You're joining us live, Commerce Minister of the country. Do you accept this criticism that is coming that maybe this budget could have been a little bit more bolder? For example, disinvestment. In terms of that, we haven't seen any major steps announced by the government in terms of really kickstarting the private investment cycle. Forget public investment, but the private investment cycle we haven't seen enough. How do you respond to that criticism? Do you believe that in some ways maybe you all played safe?
Rajdeep, I'm amused by this question because the budget, given the constraints of resources, particularly at a time when the Finance Commission has come up with such a suggestion, which I'm so happy that the government has readily agreed to share vast more resources with the states, and with 53 rupees for every 100 with the center, they have done immensely great deal of thinking as to how this can be spread without cutting down on social sector expenditure. And again, even on the private sector's participation, the government has put in money and said, based on that money which we are investing as corpus, we will have greater involvement of private investors coming in for funding infrastructure projects and so on. So the government is clearly going with a blueprint and in a very calibrated fashion. And therefore, what can be best achieved this year, we have planned for it. And of course, you can desire for having more, but that will come in the years to come.
No, that's precisely it, that you're betting for the future rather than on the present. At the moment, in terms of Make in India, in terms of job creation, in terms of spurring manufacturing, is there enough in this budget? There's a sense that perhaps you're betting, you're providing a roadmap for the future, but not telling me what is going to happen in the present.
Not at all. But take, for instance, the major investment which is going in the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor. Special mention was made by the Finance Minister about 1,200 crores which can immediately go in for the Shendra-Bidkin and also for the Dholera component in Gujarat, which is a major component under the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor. And he also added that once this is taking off and more resources are required, he is quite willing to bring in that as and when the demand comes in. So that is one example I'm taking of a major investment for something which is going to rev the economy from the point of view of the government's investing and then inviting more private participation.
Ma'am,
so that is one thing. And second,
Ma'am, the slogan that your Prime Minister and others have given for the budget is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, or Sabka Budget, Sabka Vikas. But already we've seen that the Congress seems to be suggesting it's a pro-corporate budget, it's anti-poor. And the fact is fuel prices are up 3%. I'm going to be paying much more for my petrol. Power prices, we are told, will also increase. There's a fear that already there's some kind of an inflationary pressure with the service tax that you've got and imposed, that the middle classes will be hurt, that the middle class is not getting any real benefit out of this budget. That's what Mr. Chidambaram seemed to be suggesting, and that's what is the principal charge the other opposition parties are also making.
Rajdeep, it's one thing for the Congress party to say some things as an instant reaction to a budget which they probably did not hear properly the finance minister read out, or even they probably have not even gone through in detail to understand. That they are going about saying that it is anti-poor itself is so off the cuffish, and I think it doesn't serve well for a principal opposition party to even say that. Most of the flagship program of the previous government are still continuing without any cut. And if they thought that they were pro-poor, those very projects are getting the funds from this government
3% increase this evening in petrol prices, ma'am. Not a good start. 3% increase in petrol prices.
No. Rajdeep, that is why I said it is all right for the Congress to mix up a lot of things and give a comment, but not for you, who's a very discerning senior journalist.
Okay, I'm only telling you what the criticism is. The interesting part is that, I must say in your defense that we haven't seen any of the sort of strident criticism that recent budgets have met. Nobody's seen something majorly negative. The question is there enough that is positive? I think that's the question, and I just want you to hold on, because since you have said that that the Congress party is simply opposing for the sake of opposing, Rajiv Gowda, you want to take that?
Just a minute.
Yes.
No, just 1 minute.
Yes.
The point about the fuel price hike.
Yes.
We should understand the fuel prices are now completely deregulated. What happens in the international purchasing area and what happens when the prices come down, you pass it on to the customers. Which we did 10 to 11 times. And now if there is a reason for hike, it should be. It cannot be linked with a budget is what I want you to consider.
I take your point, ma'am, but I just want a quick response from you, Rajiv Gowda. Is the Congress today opposing this budget for the sake of opposing? That here it appears that Narendra Modi has laid out some kind of an architecture for ease of transacting business, for in some way making it easier in a sense to manufacture in India it may not happen immediately, but it could happen over the next few years. Is the Congress willing to concede that this budget contains no major negatives?
Oh, Rajdeep, we cannot concede that at all. And I'm also, let me express my disappointment at Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's off-the-cuff remarks about the Congress party's reaction. Pay attention to what this, one of the central features of this budget is an increase in service tax, which is an indirect tax, which has a regressive impact and hurts the poor and the middle classes more than anybody else. It will increase, it will have an inflationary impact overall, and that any student of economics will tell you. Then, when you look at who gets the big corporate who gets the big tax benefit going forward? It's corporate India. And then when you also look at the first question that you asked, is this government not being bold enough? If you looked at the economic survey yesterday, it said that, this is really beautiful, a beautiful moment for the finance minister. Sweet spot. 3-4 things. The oil prices have come down, inflation is down. This is the time to do bold things like recapitalizing the public sector banks, things that would ensure that credit would start flowing again, that infrastructure, there's some 7% of GDP stuck in failed infrastructure or failing.
What is the one thing the Congress party would have done that the BJP hasn't? What is the one thing that you would have done if it was your budget? What is that one thing that you believe that, that Mr. Jaitley failed to do?
Well, one of the things that we would have done is recapitalize public sector banks. But one thing that they have done, which we're very happy about, is the social security net. If we had done that, I'm sure, people everywhere in TV studios would have called it a populist measure, would have called it throwing away money at the poor, all sorts of, negative reactions, when India has a large section of the population that still needs that social safety net. We went in there first with Manrega, and now the many other dimensions,
you're now effectively
pensions,
saying
insurance, social security, all those things, they are following in the direction that we've set, and I'm very happy about that.
So you're effectively seeming to suggest that when the Congress did social security, you were accused of being populist. Why am I not making the same charge against the BJP? That's not a good enough reason to target this budget. I wish there was something stronger that you had to target this budget. But Nirmala Sitharaman,
I'm happy about that.
Just a minute. Nirmala Sitharaman, before you leave us, let's be clear. Are you willing to give me a target that you set for number of jobs that will be created? Your government was voted on jobs and on growth. Are you willing to give me a target of jobs and growth that will be created as a result of this budget?
Very clearly, the promise that we gave during the election is what is reflected in this budget. Skilling people for jobs, provision for government's investment in infrastructure are all going to be clearly reflected in poor getting better access and also getting jobs. The 4 components which you cannot ignore as being a part of this budget is the farmer, for whom incentives are being given, soil card is being given, greater finance is being given for financial inclusion, and the unregulated, unfinanced sections getting that mudra, a special financing provision through which they can have small credits given to them, which is a major step taken, which is inclusive measure, and youth and skilling them for jobs are 4 things which you really cannot ignore from this budget.
Can I just
there are
bring in
100 good things which I said.
Can I just bring in Meera Sanyal? Can I just bring in Meera Sanyal who's nodding her head?
I'll just give you one line.
Yes.
Rajdeep, just one line. If there are 100 things said, 99 which are going in favor of the poor, the inclusion and so on, I find it absolutely stunning that the Congress party will have to come and tell us that, oh, this is a corporate sector's favoring budget, because in the next 4-5 years, about 4% or 5% of corporate tax is going to be reduced over 4 years. And that one thing captures the imagination of the Congress party to say, oh, this is pro-rich. Shocking that they look at it from that one point of view, 99 things being ignored.
Okay, so thank 99 things are being ignored. Let Meera Sanyal respond. Let Meera Sanyal respond. Let's have one by one. Meera Sanyal, quickly respond, because you've been shaking your head virtually questioning what Nirmala Sitharaman was saying.
Yes, so I think the statement made was that no social sector allocations have gone down. This is what we've got this afternoon from the pink pages. Expenditure on rural housing in the Indira Awas Yojana has gone down from 16,000 crores to 10,000 crores. On Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan has gone down from 27,700 crores to 22,000 crores. On the midday meal has gone down from 13,200 crores to 9,200 crores. On the integrated child development scheme, from 18,195 crores to 8,300 crores.
That's because of...
No, hold on a minute. Your absolute allocation...
States will spend the money.
States will spend the money.
It is not. If you look at it, it has gone down by about 20% even to the states. No,
the states will spend the money on this now.
If you look,
it's a state subject. Education is a state subject.
But the absolute amounts have gone down.
Precisely from the centre they've gone down.
But not
the state budget.
It is not compensated.
It is.
No,
you don't know that, Meera. You don't know that. Statement that it's not compensated.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry with these figures.
One minute. Made by Nirmala and by the finance minister was that social sector allocations have not gone down.
But from centre it's gone to the states. It's gone to the finance commission.
This is the allocation which has gone to this.
From the centre. This is not a state budget.
This has moved as untied funding to the states. Please look at the pink papers.
Can I for a moment get away from the politician just for a moment? Can I get away from the politician? And I'm sorry to sort of brand you today as a politician in that sense. Okay, you've gone by the data, but you've made a political point because you, like the Congress, believe that social security allocations have actually gone down. That's what the Congress is saying. That's what the Aam Aadmi Party is saying. I just want to get in my four experts in a way to first take the excellent, good, average, bad that I've given. Starting with you, Dr. Baru. In the morning you gave it excellent. Are you sticking to it? And give me the one big reason that you're still sticking to what you're saying. You're still calling it an excellent budget. If so, why?
Rajdeep, you introduced me as a former press secretary to a prime minister.
Yes.
That was only 4 years of my life.
Yes.
For 15 years, I've been an editor of financial newspapers, and I have written editorials about the budget from 1991 every year.
I take that.
And let me tell you.
And you also wrote a defining thesis on sugar, which we will discuss one day. That was in another avatar.
I'm talking about the budgets.
Yes.
Right? Every year since 91, I have written about the annual budget. And what are the 2 or 3 things that you look at when you look at the budget? One is the fiscal policy of the government of India. This year's budget is very responsible fiscal policy, including the increase in petrol prices, if you like, which is not part of the budget. I think this country needs fiscal stabilization. Fiscal consolidation is what has been promised. In the last 3 years, there was tremendous fiscal slippage. And I think fiscal consolidation has been attempted in this budget. 1. 2, going forward, fiscal reform, whether it's on GST, whether it's on other, the transfer of revenues to the states, implementation of the Finance Commission report, all these are important fiscal measures that the Finance Minister has taken. Finally, reforms. In terms of the structural changes that make it easier for people to do business in India, which we've talked about the whole day, a large number of initiatives. So overall, I mean, there could be criticism about one or two.
One of the criticisms is that this budget, or at least the expectation was, this would chart out the roadmap for making India a manufacturing hub. Because ultimately, jobs will be created when manufacturing takes place. Jobs will be created when there is private investment. There's a sense, Gurcharan Das, not enough was done. Are you still going to rate it as a good budget as you did in the morning and not an excellent budget because you believe that there were some opportunities that were missed by Mr. Jaitley?
I've gone back this afternoon and I read the budget. And I must say my rating may not have gone to excellent, but it's gone to very good. You don't have a paddle.
I don't have a very good.
Yes. But I'll tell you why. Why? Because what I've seen in the case of infrastructure is really very impressive, and that will be directly linked to jobs. Secondly, there is a huge disinvestment that is planned. And of that, the best part of that disinvestment, it's 69,000 crores, unprecedented. But of that, 29,000 crores is strategic sales. That means the government is not just going to hold on and let the companies bleed. They are going to get rid of them, which companies that are bleeding them. And maybe not even those that are necessarily bleeding them.
Why doesn't the government say we'll sell Air India? Why doesn't it say we'll sell it?
Why that in so many words?
But are they going to do that? Are they going to do that?
No, but it's in the budget.
So you believe that
they're the category.
You believe they've laid out the roadmap for that to happen?
Look,
Quick word from
Rajdeep, 1 second.
Yes.
There's no point saying those kinds of things because you don't want the unions in the streets and have to fight them for the next 1 year. So it's sensible to have, but they made a provision for this. But most importantly, I will re-emphasize why this is such a good budget is the fact that it is a modern, efficient, professional budget. and that is, it is taking us to what are called world standards: bankruptcy law, SARFAESI, ASEAN tax rates, the pass-through of taxation for the private equity financial institution, the monetizing of gold. All these are cashless society. These are making us into an economy that's as good as the global best in the world.
So you believe that it is a modern budget. Surjit, Surjit, of course, and let me give everyone time at the start. Surjit, you on the other hand believe it's an excellent budget to the point that it's the best budget since 1991, is what you've suggested. Has there been anything since you've gone home in the morning that has made you change your mind?
No, it's just reinforced it.
Put that excellent up then, just to make sure, to reinforce it. Okay, to reinforce it.
In the morning I said excellent plus plus. That's because of my DNA, but it is plus plus. Look,
the one big reason for that. The first big reason, one big reason.
And actually only one reason, and like Sanjay, I've followed budgets very, very closely for the last 20 years, not as much as Sanjay has. And you know, in all of the discussions of the budget, every year, there is some core issue or some policy that somebody has a reasonable opposition to. And they say, listen, this is not correct, like the retrospective or Narega or whatever.
Yes.
In this one, there is only one objection the worst critic of the budget has. Can it be implemented? Now,
the Congress says it's anti-poor. The Congress says it's anti-poor.
Congress has been known for its slogans and how much it has not helped the poor. No, I will mean it. For the last 66 years.
Why is it
Congress is not any testimony about a budget whether it helps the poor or not, because they, when they had the chance, starting from Nehru, did not do it.
The irony is that industry is not necessarily cheering it all the way at the moment. The industry
and one last point.
Industry is cautiously optimistic.
One last point.
That's my point. The fiscal stabilization in the budget.
Yes.
You know, the industry would have been happier if they'd got more.
That's right, because there's a worry whether interest rates will now come down.
One last point, which both you and Meera had pointed out, look at the stock market, it is down. It ended up on its record highs.
Okay, just a minute. You made your point.
Will you change your mind if the stock market goes up?
Just a minute. Let me get every viewpoint. Sunil Alan, I'm not surprised you're saying excellent.
No,
because you can afford to pay extra money when you go for entertainment allowances. Your service tax is not going to affect you.
I want to say, I think Mr. Gowda said that the service tax is going to affect the poor and the middle class and everybody else.
Yes.
Now the middle class and everybody else, even if they spend 10,000 rupees a month, which they can least afford, it comes to 100 rupees a month impact of service tax. Are you going to have a haircut every 3 weeks? You're going to have a haircut every 6 weeks. Are you going to go out all the time to fancy restaurants? No. I am saying they normally spend 5,000 or 6,000 rupees a month. On that, it is not more than 50 rupees. Now, what are you talking about? Oh, service, everybody raises on percentages.
Okay, hold on. This is,
hurts the poor. The poor spend how much? I'd like to ask Mr. Gowda. Then get 1.5% of that.
Let me get Meera therefore. You said in the morning average. Are you going to stick to that average?
Yeah, I might even go down.
You might actually go down.
The reason is unknown.
But anyway, hold on.
But you didn't get my one reason why I gave it excellent.
Yeah, okay, go ahead and then let me.
Okay, fine. What has he done? Why do people want to invest? Indians investing in India and setting up factories, or foreigners coming in? Because they want stability and they want to see a clear path. He has laid out a clear path for them to come and invest. I am going down from 30 to 25.
Why should I invest 1 month from now? I'm not worried about
I'm talking about 1 month from now. You know that the taxes are not going to go up. You know there's no... Everybody abroad was asking, give me stability and clarity. It doesn't matter whether you want to increase or decrease. We don't want things happening every year.
Okay.
This is the best possible environment to come and invest. Which will raise jobs.
Go ahead, Meera.
Look, Rajdeep, as the economic survey said, and as you discussed in the morning, this was the perfect conditions. It was politically perfect, it is economically perfect. He had all the headwinds going for him. The reason I'm saying it's an average, it's in comparison with what he could have done. We wanted a dramatic simplification and rationalization of the tax regime. We wanted clarity in terms of what is the roadmap to make it doing business easier, right? So Sanjay says this is an excellent budget because it's going to be easier. I want to ask, what is it in this budget that makes it dramatically simpler for a young entrepreneur to do business in India? What has been simplified? No, hold on a minute. When we say it's an excellent budget, we wanted a path-breaking revolution.
You read what he
so
said
you
for the
believe
young
that
entrepreneur.
you go along with the criticism that it's good but not bold enough.
Absolutely.
That the finance minister therefore has missed an opportunity at a time when conditions were propitious for him to take the kind of bold steps. He chose not to take it. Please tell me the one big bold step that the Aam Aadmi Party would have taken if it was your finance minister.
I would have done the DTC instead of walking away from the DTC. I would have said, right now, bring down the taxes, remove the exemptions.
God.
Why
would
we do
the
that?
money publicly said about on the show yesterday or on the show today that basically he should do something on black money.
And he did it.
And he did it.
I said he should do something on gold monetization.
He did it.
That's excellent.
So now
I'm
we
saying
have
that's good. No, hold on a minute.
something on the DTC.
Oh, come on, Surjit. That's because he and I think alike. You didn't say it. I did. And I'm glad he's done it.
What is it on the DTC that he should have done?
He should have implemented it. He should have brought down... No,
what is the implementation of the DTC,
Bring down the tax rates and remove exemptions, simplify it. Come down from a 30-page form to a 1-page form.
Then Aam Aadmi Party would have said it's pro-rich.
No, say that. Come on, Sanjay. This is not about the Aam Aadmi Party. This is about...
The DTC does not say get away from exemption.
No, hold on a minute. We have talked. Your government, the government to which you were a press secretary, have talked about the GST. You've talked about the DST. These are not new things. These have been on
one by one, please.
These have been on the map for a long period of time. Why is it that they're not being implemented? This government, which has a majority... No, hold on a minute.
Because you want the fiscal deficit to be 4.1.
Please. Where do we have a commitment to when GST is going to be implemented?
Yes, he said in 1 year, please. Now you're giving misinformation.
1 minute.
He has said he's going to introduce it in 1 year.
I just want to get the final reactions from the two politicians who've been standing by, Rajiv Gowda and Siddharth Nath Singh, because there's a sense that the debate is now going to be positioned, at least as far as the Congress is concerned, Mr. Gowda, that when we did it, you called us populist. When the NDA does it, you are calling it a revolutionary budget. Is the Congress's principal charge against this budget that you believe that the finance minister missed an opportunity? Or is your charge basically that you believe the finance minister has only carried on your legacy?
The finance minister has missed a tremendous opportunity to bring about substantial change. But there's much more that you need to probe into. Look at the actual record. He tells us he's giving us the same amount of money for social sector spending. How much actually happened? Last year also, there was 33,000 or something crores allocated to NREGA. Only 13,000 was actually released to the Rural Development Ministry, and most of it did not reach the states, and they're in trouble. You allocated 10,000 crores for a startup entrepreneur fund, and nothing got done with that. So all these things are grand announcements, nicely, creating one little, maya for us, and the actual reality will turn out to be something dramatically different.
So you believe that he's created a Maya Jal. Okay, that's the Congress's charge. We'll get more sort of...
Let him answer on the service tax. How does it affect the poor?
Just a minute. Siddharth Nath Singh.
He doesn't answer that.
Siddharth Nath Singh, you've been waiting the longest. Let me bring... Just a minute, Rajiv Gowda.
Just 50 rupees a month. Unless you're going for a haircut every 2 weeks.
Just a minute. I just want to bring in...
tax on mobile phones. A poor man is hurt more by every paisa that goes out as tax.
1.5%, what does it mean?
A rich man like you will not understand.
Rich man like me. How much does a poor man spend, Mr. Gowda?
No, he said,
what a hold on, tax is in terms of incidence.
1.5% on what he spends.
Economics
you
and
may
get a
see
heart
it as 1.5%.
No, I am saying it's 50 rupees a month. I've done my calculations. For a middle-income group guy.
Can I for a moment just bring in Siddharth Nath Singh, who's waited the longest? Just a minute.
50 rupees a month? How much do you pay your driver? How much do you pay your driver? It's 50 nothing.
Oh my God, now how much do you pay your driver? We are talking about service tax. How much do you spend on a haircut every 4 weeks? Or a restaurant. How much does a middle-income group person spend?
Hurts the poor. It is a regressive.
Poor don't even go for a haircut and they get a haircut without service tax.
Just a minute.
You fully understand that.
Okay. Can I for a moment? Since this is going to become the big issue, that the service tax in the manner that it's been brought is somewhat anti-poor is being suggested. Siddharth Nath Singh, quick response from you before I take a break. Jai Panda is also standing. I'll take him after the break. But service tax is being shown up by the Congress as anti-poor.
I can only say you take a quick break because there's no quick answer to it. The issue with Rajdeep is that the Congress wants to spread a propaganda. They did on the Manrega. They have realized the Manrega, nothing was slashed in the Manrega. Rather, by about 4% it went up. There is another 5,000 crores which is again promised. Now, on the service tax they are talking about, service tax is not something which they are claiming for the poor. Poor doesn't go for a haircut. Poor doesn't go into a restaurant. Poor maximum on a driver, you may like to say, Mr. Gowda, is he'll buy a mobile phone. A 1,500 mobile phone service tax is not going to pinch him that much. So, therefore, there are other issues on fiscal consolidation which is required. And this government has gone in that step. Okay. And when the fiscal consolidation happens, you are able to make your rupee more stronger. And that helps you when you are importing so many other things. So a strong rupee will help you to keep your inflation down. And that is much better than many other things.
Whether Modi-nomics has truly arrived. Narendra Modi, remember, got elected in 2014 on his mandate of creating jobs and spurring growth. Will this budget do that or not? That's the big question, Gurcharan Das. Or is the jury still out on that one? No, as Meera Sanyal says, she still has her doubts and reservations.
No, in fact, that's the change that I have made to take this from good to very good. Because I have looked at the infrastructure numbers deeply. I have looked at the various infrastructure enabling sort of the infrastructure fund and the bonds, etc. And I feel that that is quite bold.
It's public investment, it's not private investment.
Yes.
I'm wondering where the private investment is going to come as a result of that. I mean, in a sense, it's almost a trade-off. That Modi-nomics decided we are going to put our money this year in public investment, stir public investment first.
And I think that's a very...
And that will bring the private. Yes, will that bring the private investment is the question, Sunil.
The question is, right now, when you are saying private sector is not putting money in because they want to see what it is, so he's putting the money where his mouth is. He's saying, I'm going forward, now join me. If private sector doesn't do it by next year, we'll discuss that.
Golden quadrilateral.
Let's do that.
Ijaz Ghani.
And let's keep it short so that we can get everyone in.
Ijaz Ghani of the World Bank has done a wonderful report in which he says that once they built the Golden Quadrilateral, 10 kilometers around, all around, they've had a huge increase in productivity,
so you believe he's using infrastructure to drive the economic growth? That's right. You know, Meera Sanyal, you've been saying right through the break in particular that you are unconvinced about the numbers, including this whole concept of fiscal federalism, of giving money to the states. You believe that there is financial jugglery. You're not convinced about the number or lack of transparency, if not jugglery.
I think absolutely there's a lack of transparency. The point which has validly been made is that the Finance Commission report has just been presented. But there is absolutely no doubt when a minister says that there has been no decline in social sector spendings, the numbers speak for themselves. There has been. I also want to talk to, you know...
So you're saying education, health are going to...
Absolutely. ICDS, child and development, rural, Awas Yojana, all kinds of things have come down. But let me come to the point that Gurcharan is making. This is a country where indeed infrastructure spending is critical. At the moment, last year we had 750 projects, each of which was running in an overrun. And when we say infrastructure is to move, there are critical problems with railways, roadways, power, aviation, telecom, shipping, which are structural issues. I would like to see, once again, there's no doubting the intent. Of course the intent is good, but what are we doing to address them? There is severe NPAs in each of these sectors. These are things which have to be addressed.
Can I for a moment bring in Jai Panda, one of our most articulate members of parliament. Jai Panda, I presume that you're going to be a little bit more balanced because you don't have to bow either to the BJP or the Congress. The Biju Janata Dal can happily stay in the middle. Your sense of this budget, is this the birth of Modi-nomics, of a new economic mantra that really will put its thrust on making India more investment friendly?
Rajdeep, you're right. I will be balanced and I will share two perspectives with you. I'll come briefly to the national impact, but very quickly I want to say that as a regional party, Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik has raised certain objections which have to do with fairness and have to do with discrimination. For example, you have special packages for states that are going to elections, but for areas like KBK in Odisha, which deserve a special package, you don't have them. certain other discriminatory items like that. But if you look at the national impact of the budget, it's very clear that it has a lot in it which is exciting industry, and I think that we can actually look forward to the 8 to 8.5% growth rate that is being indicated, and perhaps even to the double-digit growth rate in the next few years that is possible. In particular, I think the kind of steps that the government is taking on for example, the incentives given to industry and to manufacturing, and the social security schemes that have been announced at the bottom of the pyramid, as well as the steps announced on cracking down on black money, these are all to be welcomed, I think. And I think, yes, indeed, it is a different kind of a stamp on the budget. You can call it Modinomics, you can call it anything else, but we are in a different era today than in the previous 3 or 4 years.
Would I be fair, therefore, Rajiv Gowda, to say we are moving away from what was perceived as Sonianomics, particularly of the last 5 years, to Modinomics? Forget words like populism for a moment. That there was a sense that the previous government did not do enough to encourage the investment cycle, to spur. You had more difficult times, admittedly, but you didn't do enough to spur the investment cycle. This government seems to have decided to put its money behind business and to believe that business will in return reward the Aam Aadmi in a way by providing him or her jobs.
If this government had paid attention to recapitalizing public sector banks, addressing the 750 infrastructure projects that are potential NPAs, as Meera Sanyal just pointed out, then we could say that the government has really paid attention to the crucial aspects that
those infrastructure projects, I might add, were stalled during the Congress years.
Again. Okay, they were all stalled during the viability. I know, because economies go up and down, private-public partnerships, either work or they don't. All sorts of things happen that we learn through experience. Well, the viability gap between the Modi's promises and this Jaitley's budget is very, very large, astronomical.
Okay, let me therefore then come to that question. If there is one big takeaway to all our panelists, and I want to conclude this today, starting with you, Dr. Baru, the one big takeaway, if there was one big takeaway that you believe today when India goes to sleep, and since this budget is Sabka Budget, Sabka Vikas, it's talking about the Aam Aadmi out there, what should he see as his big takeaway?
Well, you keep using the word Modinomics, and I was thinking to myself, what is the essence of Modinomics? It's really about ease of doing business. Because what does Modi represent? He represents Gujarat, a state that has been able to make it easy for businessmen. He's been attracting businessmen from all over the country and all over the world. So I think in that sense, that is a new element. I mean, otherwise, everything else is really a continuation of what was Manmohanomics from 91, right? I mean, trade liberalization, tax reform, industrial delicensing, deregulation, fiscal stabilization. These are all things we have had for a long time. So the point of departure of this budget is this ease of doing business.
But that would mean end of Inspector Raj. I don't know how this budget is going to end Inspector Raj per se. It's talking about setting a committee which will then have a regulator in place.
No. Let me clarify what the rule is. Just technically what has come out in the budget. I'm not giving an opinion. He has said, I'm going to lay out rules. After that, the industry moves in. Nobody goes and inspects anything. You will then
so you believe ease of doing business is the big takeaway that you see. Surjit, your big takeaway?
I think in addition to that, which is an important takeaway and which is something that the Modi government has been emphasizing from day one, they will want to bring the ease of doing business index, if you will, down from 142 to 50. And I've said on your program that they'll easily bring it to less than 100.
India will come from 142 to 50 in terms of ease of doing business.
That's the government's claim.
That's the government's claim.
And I'm saying I will not be surprised if it doesn't come below 100.
In the next 5 years?
No, in the next year.
In the next year. That's a huge claim to make. That's a huge claim to make. Gurcharan, that's why Surjit is a delightful outlier. He likes to say things which are predictably dramatic. But go ahead.
Yeah, but which also turn out to be right many times.
Yeah, you got the 300 seats of Modi right. But go ahead.
But we are discussing absolutely the right issue.
Yes.
Because that's why Modi got elected. And now I think he has to deliver. The conditions, the budget has created the conditions. For
both rural and urban India?
Yes. I think
for both rural and urban
absolutely.
India, that divide is being eliminated?
Because, you see, this is the mistake we make. The economy is actually one. You create jobs in a small town, it's the people from the rural areas who come to fill those jobs. So there is no gap. When you're creating jobs, you're creating jobs. So I would just say, if Surjit is saying he'll go to 100 in 1 year, I would be very happy if we could come down to 110, maybe 80. 80 means we'll cross China, because China is 81.
So that's the target.
Not that far for me.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Sunil, go ahead. I mean, do you believe that this is, in a sense, going to be a dramatic shift from the way business is done? Let's be clear. India business, and the point that is being made by Dr. Baru since yesterday, business is not going to just come to Delhi. It's going to go to state capitals. It's not just what the center does. In the next 24 months, 36 months, how will state governments react is critical.
Every businessman that I've spoken to, both inside and outside the country, says we do not want to invest because there is utter confusion. Nobody knows what laws you pass this year and what you change. We want a stable unit, and he's providing that. So I think this budget, for me, as far as I'm concerned,
10 seconds.
Yeah, is making history. He's going to put all the other budgets as history.
And you're going to ensure that you go for a haircut only once in 3 months as a result of this budget. Okay.
So you'll see me with long hair, Mr. Gowda.
Yeah, because a haircut
because of 1.5%.
Yes, service tax. We all will suffer when we go out. Meera Sanyal, final point, your big takeaway.
Well, you know, I'll say this, Rajdeep, who in this country doesn't want this budget to succeed? We all want it to succeed because it's critical. The economy is in a mess. I don't believe that we have seen those steps to make it easier to do business. I think that's
so
just
you
the
see
difference.
it as a missed opportunity in that
I
sense.
do. And
okay.
you know, I would just say that indeed if Surjit is right, I'd be happy to buy him a Nimbu Pani and, you know, pay for the
Surjit Balla this morning promised champagne.
He can give me a champagne.
He promised champagne. But we've all decided, hold on, we've run out of time. No, we've all decided the real champagne is if India wins the World Cup. That's the real champagne. And since Modi comes from a prohibition state, don't talk about champagne. It'll have to be Nimbu Pani. That's the unfortunate part. Let's leave it at that. To Rajiv Gowda and Jai Panda, appreciate your joining us. To all my panelists, it's been wonderful having you. If you've been watching, you can rate the budget. Join us on our website and tell us how you rate the budget. My take at the end of this long day. The Jaitley budget may not have been a big bang one, but it has struck the right notes. It has attempted to balance growth and equity. It has also laid out a roadmap for fiscal reform and ease of doing business, which if translated into reality, can give impetus to the Make in India slogan. The challenge now is to change mindsets and push for time-bound delivery systems. Else the vision of the Jaitley-Modi duo will remain yet another case of a missed opportunity. That's as balanced as I can get today. Good night. Goodbye.